Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I know that a lot of you are really interested in my story time videos, and so I was actually talking to my sister-in-law recently and I decided to go ahead and film this story time. So a lot of my story time videos, they're not recent, like they're like within like the last 5 years. So this is a story time that took place like 3 years ago, and it does happen to be a a date, like a bad date for days story time. So if you guys enjoy this video, then make sure to like it and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you like seeing other story times, y'all, I got a whole bunch of stories, so make sure that you subscribe. Also, you guys, if you are into fitness and weight loss, I also make those type of videos. That is majority of what my channel focuses on, and I do story time videos on the side because the craziest things happen to me. Okay, so all right, without further ado, let's get into the story time. Alright, so about 3 years ago, I got my first car, y'all. And so I needed to get an oil change, and it was my first time taking a car to get an oil change. And so I'm not from the DC area, so I was Googling where to get an oil change at because I had never got one from here because I'm not from here. So I had no idea on where to get an oil change from. So I was just Googling and I'm scrolling through mass places to see like who got the best deal, what kind of specials can I get, what all come with the oil change. And I was calling around to a few places, and it was actually a Saturday morning, and a lot of places were saying like, oh, we're already booked up, we can't take any more cars today. And I really wanted to get my oil change because my light had been out and I wanted to start the week fresh. Like, I love starting the week off with a fresh, like a full tank of gas, and then like just no issues. So that's just how I like to plan my week. So I was like, I really need to get my oil change today so it can be off my mind and I don't have to worry about it no more. Okay, I'm scrolling through mass places, and then I see a place called Midas. So I call Midas, and this guy answers the phone, and he's just like, yeah, we're still taking like appointments or whatever. How soon can you get here? And I was like, all right, I can get there in 20 minutes, right? He said, okay, no problem. So I hang up, and y'all, literally I was already in my car, right? So I hang up and I drive straight to the Midas, and it takes me like 20 minutes like the GPS said. So it takes me 20 minutes. I walk into the Midas, and then the guy at the desk, he's like, oh, we're not taking any more customers right now. And I'm like, really? Like, I legit just called you and you said that you could do my car today. And then he's like, oh, well, a lot of stuff can happen in 20 minutes, blah, 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 blah. And y'all, I'm pissed, right? Because I'm like, I literally just called you. I told you it's going to take me 20 minutes, and it took me 20 minutes. Like, I wasn't even BSing on my way over here. So we're not arguing, but we're like kind of going back and forth because I'm like, oh, well, you know, is there any way that you can fit it in? Like,
that's what she said.
And like, if I wait and then like, you know, you're not able to get to somebody, or somebody don't show up for their appointment or something, like, is there a way that you can do my car today? So as I'm talking to the front desk man, this guy comes. He's like, start walking from the back. And we're going to call this guy Malik, y'all. So Malik starts walking from the back up to the front of the, like, the counter or whatever. And he's, like, talking to the guy. Like, we're going to call the guy behind the counter Joe. So he's like, hey, yo, Joe, I could do her car for her, right? And so I'm looking at Malik like, okay, like, whatever. Like, I'm going to get my oil changed today, right? So then Malik is like, just which car is it? Just hand me the keys and I'll, you know, go change the oil or whatever. So I'm like, okay. So, and he has a Midas, you know, uniform and stuff on. So I know that he not just out from the middle of nowhere and just like, give me the keys to your car. So like, he works there. He talked to Joe, like Joe knew who he was. So I gave Malik the keys to my car, and he went to go do the oil change. So I'm just sitting in like the main room or whatever. And I'm just on my phone, and I swear, y'all, I was probably on my phone for like maybe 10 minutes, and then Malik came back and was like, your car is ready. Like, it was the fastest, because usually you hear horror stories of how people be waiting and waiting and waiting or whatever for oil changes, but I feel like they kind of picked it up now, because now you can even sit in your car and get them done. But like, they were so busy that they couldn't fit me in, but then this man legit changed my oil in 10 minutes, y'all. So I'm like, okay. So I'm walking back with Malik, like I paid Joe or whatever. I'm walking back with Malik to my car, and he's like chatting me up, right? So he's like, oh, you know, and he's telling me that like they really didn't have any cars to do. They all was just in the back watching football. So he was like, you know, it wasn't really no big deal for me to do your car. I just know Joe wasn't taking any more cars because we in the back watching football. So I'm like, oh, okay, like this is how y'all get down here, like whatever. My car got done, so whatever. So he's chatting me up and he's just like, you know, can I have your number? And I was just like, you know what, like, yeah, like you seem pretty cool. And in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking like, you know, I might need some help on my car later on down the road. So yes, like we can exchange numbers and like see where this goes from here, right? So we exchange numbers, right? I get in my car, and let me tell y'all this too. Like this has nothing to do with the story, but I want to make a note to tell y'all this. So I get in my car, y'all, and there's like oil, like footprints all in the carpet of my car. So I guess like he wasn't wearing like the little footies that goes on your car when he was inside. So there's like oil stains like all in my carpet, and I'm pissed, right? But at the same time, I'm just like, all right, like it's just carpet, like I could clean it, like it's no big deal. But I definitely was salty about it at the time. So anyways, I leave and I end up talking to Malik on the phone. So we're like talking, I would say we talked for maybe like 2 to 3 weeks on the phone, and we were talking for like maybe like an hour a day, because I would always call him on my way home from work. And I have, y'all, in the evenings I have like an hour and 30-minute commute home from work, but that's another story. So I would talk to him for like an hour on my way home from work, because he would be like still at work or whatever. So we would just talk, and we just seemed to really just been like getting to know each other, and it seemed like things was going good, right? So come to find out, he actually was from Maryland, but he got his mechanic license in Cincinnati. And I was like, oh, like I'm from Cincinnati. So we would talk about like stuff there, like the food there, the restaurants and stuff there. So it seemed like we was really getting along. And so let me tell y'all this too. He asked me out on a date, and I was just like, yeah, I'll go out. You can pick the place, you can pick the day, right? You can pick the place, you can pick the day. So he was like, how about Thursday? So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'll, after work or whatever, it's going to be good for me. Okay. He picked the place. He picked the day. Okay. So he tells me the address or whatever, and Thursday comes. After work, I end up driving to this place. Now, I like surprises, y'all. Like I'm not real picky about where I go out to eat, because I feel like anything, like any restaurant or wherever that you take me to, any type of like ice cream place, anything that you take me to, I feel like I'm gonna make the best of it, and I'm gonna find something that I can eat there. Okay, so it's not really a big deal to me to like be real involved on like where I go. Like I think for the most part I'm pretty easygoing. I'm gonna find something to eat there. I'm gonna make the best of whatever it is. So I don't look up this place at all. So he just gives me the address, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm driving to the place, y'all, and as I'm driving, like the GPS says I'm like 10 minutes away. And what I keep noticing is like I went from like, you know, DC, and like DC is like pretty, it's like nice. Like they're really like putting a lot of money and stuff into DC. So I went from like DC to like Maryland, and like I was 10 minutes out from the place, and all I kept seeing was like dilapidated buildings. It's like a whole bunch of like dope boys outside. Like it's just like the place is in the middle of the hood, okay? And it just definitely wasn't what I was expecting, because I'm thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like, you know, like some type of like restaurant where it's like a shopping center, or like just like a nice built up area. But this, like we driving, or I'm driving, he's meeting me there, I meet him there. So where I'm driving there, and I'm just like, oh, like this looks like it's in the middle of the hood. I have no idea what part. It was in Maryland. I have no idea what part of Maryland I was in, but I definitely know like I had never been there before, and like it was like the hood. So I pull up to like where the restaurant is, and it's like a shopping, like a town center type of thing, but like everything in the town center is like a beauty supply store. It's like a check cashing place. It's just like, I don't know, like it's not like a nice area. So I'm like, oh, okay, like that's kind of different, okay? So he ends up getting there like right after I did, and so then we go inside. And so the first thing I noticed, I wish I could remember what the name of this place was, y'all, but as soon as I get in, the first thing I noticed is that it looks really nice, y'all. So I was like, whew, like Okay, like it looked really nice. So like they had like lights everywhere, it had like a water fountain in the front, and it had like the koi fish and stuff. Like it looked like a really nice restaurant. Okay, so we get up to like where I guess like the hostess is, and what I'm thinking is the hostess, and it turns out that ends up being a buffet, and it was a seafood buffet at that. So at the time I didn't even really like eat seafood, but I was just like, okay, like I can just, like I said, make the best of whatever it is, right? So we at the counter, and you have to pay, you have to pay before, you know, they let you in because it's a buffet. Now I'm not sure if some buffets let you pay after or whatever, but I highly doubt they let you do that in, you know, in this day and age. But back then, like, we had to pay before we went back there. So our bill, y'all, was like, it was not expensive at all. It was like $22. So she was like, okay, like 2 buffets, and she's like, do you want anything to drink? And then me, like, I don't really drink anything. Like, I'm a water drinker, so I don't drink no pop. I don't like a lot of sugary lemonades and stuff. Like, I typically order water wherever I go. So I order a water, he order a water as well. So the payment came up to like $22, y'all, or like 22 and some change. So he's like, all right, can I put 20 on this card, and then I want to put the rest on this other card, right? So the 20 went through, and then the other card, the payment was declined. And so he looked back at me, and he's just like, can I have, you know, $2.48 or whatever? And I'm just like, oh, okay, like no problem. So I end up just swiping my card for the $2.48. So at that moment, I was just like, oh, like this is like, I'm really put off, because I'm like, you picked the day and you picked the place. So you knew how much it was and you knew where we was going. So like, why didn't you have enough money? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, why you don't have enough money? And then I'm also thinking too, like, well, what if I got a drink? Like, you should have let me know. Like, drinks is not an option here because you don't have enough money to even pay for like the water or whatever. So I was just like, oh, like that's different. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I still feel like I can make the best out of this date. And we sit down, because everything else, like the times that we was talking, everything just seemed fine. So I'm like, you know what, like, that's not a bad person. You know, it is what it is. So we sit down, we talk for a little bit, and then we go get our plates and stuff. So everything about the date, I feel like, is going like okay. And he's like asking questions, getting to know me. I'm asking him questions and getting to know him, right? So one of the questions that he asked me is, he's like, you know, tell me about like a time where you did something that you wasn't proud of. And so I'm like, ooh. And in my head, I'm like, I'm trying to gauge like what the level of this is, right? Like, you mean you want me to tell you something that I did that I wasn't proud of, that's like up here, or like something that's down here, or like, you know, kind of low? So I'm trying to gauge, like, you know, how like deep does he want this question to go? And he's just like, so I asked him, I'm like, you know, like, what do you mean? And he's just like, you know, just anything that you did that you wasn't proud of. Like, just tell me something that you did that you wasn't proud of. So y'all, I tell him like about this time where I like cheated on a Latin test or whatever. So I'm like, oh, you know, I tell him the story about when I cheated on my test and like me not being proud of it, right? And I feel like, you know, I could have listed something else, but I felt like, you know, it's a first date, so I don't want to say nothing that's like too like left field where he's just like, oh nah, right? So I'm being, for lack of a better terms, conservative, right? So I'm being conservative on what I tell him. So I'm like, oh, you know, this time in high school I cheated on the Latin test, blah 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 blah. And so then I asked him, like, you know, what's something that you did that you wasn't proud of, right? And y'all, hold on one second, okay? Hold on one second. Yeah. So this one time I was in high school, yo, and like there was this guy, and he used to bully all the kids or whatever, right? He used to bully all the kids. So one time I was sitting on my porch, right? And I seen this dude, and he walked past my porch, like he on my street, he in my hood or whatever, right? So he walking past my porch, and I'm just like, damn, this the time where I can get this the time where I can get him, right? So I hop up off my porch, right? And then I run up on him, right? And then I put the gun to the back of his head, right? Put the gun to the back of his head, right? And I'm just like, you know what? Drop to your drawers. Drop to your drawers. And I made that strip down to his drawers, man. And then I took all of his shit, right? And I really felt like I was just like, you know, being like a Robin Hood of the day, right? Being like a Robin Hood of today, because I took his shit because he was always bullying people and stuff at school, and I ain't really with that shit. Like, I don't really like that shit. I can't stand a fucking bully, yo. So, you know, I had to take that shit up off of him or whatever, right? And then I just gave it away. Like, I didn't even want that shit. I ain't need that shit. Like, I just gave it away. It wasn't no big deal to me. And see, y'all, the whole time that he telling me the story, I'm just listening like, what? Like, it was so crazy. Like, I'm just like, cause it's like, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, what am I supposed to say to that? So I'm just like, okay. Oh, okay. And so, y'all, like, we finished out the date, and like the whole time, like, all I kept picturing was this in my head, y'all.
Yeah, you got something. Why you tripping, Debo? Shut up, punk, I'll knock your ass out.
Oh man, that's messed up. What you getting back his chain?
What chain?
And so it just made it so hard for me to take him seriously, because I was just like, yeah, like, that's not that is not okay. That is not okay, right? So I'm just like, yeah, no. And I felt like at that moment I had already decided, like, we not going on a second date, okay? You know, there's a lot of people out there that'd be like, oh, you know, I want a hood man, I like a little thug, blah 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 blah. And like, I just don't. I don't. Like, that's not what I'm interested in. That's not what get me wet. Like, that's just not, that's not at all. So I was just like, yeah, this ain't gonna work out. He ended up walking me to the car. He was really nice. Like, we talked a little bit in the parking lot, and I was just like, okay. And so he's like, you know, when am I gonna see you again? And I'm not a liar. Like, I'll be straight up with you about whatever. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't think that it's gonna work out. And he was like, why? And I was just like, you know, I just kind of feel like we're on two different pages, and this is just, you know, I think we could be friends, but I just don't see this going forward in like a partnership. And I'll just be honest with you, because like, I don't like wasting my time, and I feel like I'm not gonna waste your time either. So it is what it is. And so we talked for a little bit after that, but it pretty much died off, because I'm sure he was like, well, I don't want to be your friend. But y'all, it was just no. It was a no for me. So I just want to ask y'all, like, I know I have so many like crazy date stories, and I think it's because I'll go on a date and like a lot of people don't get a second date with me, and it's because of like shit like this. Like, it's just, I just don't know how to pick them, I guess. So tell me about a time, if this has happened to any of y'all, tell me about a time where you just went on the first date and you was just like, yeah, no, you're not getting a second date with me. Or if there was a time where like somebody just told you this crazy ass story and like they dead ass serious, and you're just like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that. So it wasn't gonna work out. So if you're watching this, I'm a leak, no hard feelings, boo. It just you was just a little bit too thug for me and my personal taste, okay? So no hard feelings. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this story time, please make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, let me know if you have any story times that you feel like a top that story, because I'm telling y'all, like, my life is just so freaking crazy. So alrighty guys, until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
If she can keep it all running, keeps it running.